Hi, and welcome back to All Things Magical. Today, I would like to do a little vlog on an experience I had. As many of you know, I am a paranormal investigator with the Shenandoah Area Paranormal Society. And as such, from time to time, we help lead tour groups through local haunted locations. Some of them are very public and very famous, and some of them not so. We also do private investigations, and I am considered their occult specialist. So what I have experienced was a couple weeks ago. We were helping, or I was leading a group in a very popular haunt location in the area. And the team that I had was also with another paranormal investigation group, but they were new to it, but they were learning. They had all their new equipment and we wanted to play with it. And, I was really excited because I always like the journey from new equipment to actually doing it and kind of doing the work that's behind it. And so I was kind of happy to see, more people being so inspired and willing to reach out to the spirit world, talk, communicate, try to find evidence, try to figure out what's going on, where we're going, why they're here. Is this our destiny, or is there another realm, or did they just not cross the veil, or whatever happens? And we also like to investigate how things happen, and we also do a lot of debunking, tons of debunking. So the whole process is exciting to me, and it fits really well with what I believe to be potentially the afterlife. So I enjoy doing that stuff. So I was leading a group, and we were having a pretty good evening. We didn't get a lot of activity. It was kind of quiet in the building, and that sometimes that happens. I know a lot of times you watch the shows on TV, and there's always activity. Every time they go someplace, there's activity, and it happens right away. And quite honestly, it doesn't. Sometimes you could be in a building all day and you have nothing happen, and you go back the next day and you get one or two things happens, and you go back the next day and maybe you get a whole bunch of stuff that happens. You never know, what makes investigating spirit haunts so challenging, and it's so thrilling too, because when you do get something, it's like, yes, I got it. So it was one of those days where there's just not a lot of activity. It's a known haunt location. We've got, people's got evidence out of the location for days. So it's understood that it is an official haunted location. It's on the haunted locations in Virginia registration. Well, not Virginia. It would have been West Virginia. But it's a known haunt location. And they just didn't want to chat that night. So, and I'm okay with that. I believe that if you've passed on, you don't lose your will, you don't lose who you are, you don't lose your inner spirit. You just lose the shell, the meat of your body, and you move on. And some of us go on past the veil, go cross the light, whatever you want to call it, go to heaven, go to hell, and there's a handful that stay on earth, and a lot of people call that purgatory, whatever, but that's a whole different conversation. What frustrated me was when we were on the haunt, she was so frustrated that she wasn't getting contact in this building, and she felt like she was missing something. That finally, when we reached the third floor of this four-floor building, she sat down at a table that was put out there, and she reached in her bag of tricks, and she reached out and she had a little silk pouch, and I immediately knew what it was. Now, I didn't know if she had training or not, so I really didn't say anything. And I just kind of watched and observed, because that's kind of why I'm there. So she got out a pendulum. She got out a series of pretty substantial amethyst and quartz. Now, if you don't work with crystals, just to let you know, amethyst is a third eye vibrational energy crystal, which means it is connected to your psychic senses, spirit communication, and reaching out across the veil. So she has got stones, several of them, on her desk, on the table in front of her, in kind of this semicircle, and they're all spirit energy draws, basically. And then on top of it, she pulls out quartz crystals and puts those in between each amethyst. And quartz crystal is used as an energy accelerant for any energies that's near it. A common example would be, it's like putting gasoline on a fire. So you got the kindling, you got the fire going, but maybe the fire isn't big enough for you, so you throw a cup of gasoline on top of the fire. And that's basically what she's doing. She's doing that in this semicircle on the table. And I kind of looked at that, and I became uneasy immediately, because we are here trying to communicate to spirits. And I don't mind using crystals to help with that, but the volume of crystals she had in front of her was an incredible magnet, an incredible force. And then she got her pendulum out. And then I felt really uncomfortable, because at that point, she hadn't protected herself. She hadn't protected anyone in her area. She hadn't established any kind of ground rules for using the pendulum. She hadn't made any assertions or affirmations about, basically what the rules are. And that's something you have to do when you use a pendulum. You have to put the boundaries, because if you don't, the spirits are going to run amok. They're going to use that energy. They're going to do what they want. They're not going to listen to you. They're like 2-year-old children. They're going to run amok. So here she is with her pendulum, and she's talking. But what she doesn't realize is what she's done is she's actually opened a portal. She's opened a portal. She's opened the veil across the real world and the spirit world, and is allowing more spirits to come through and cross that veil into an already haunted building that is still used every day. It is still used and open to the public, and it houses young adults from time to time, groups of young adults. So I'm really concerned about what's going on, and I see this going on, and she must have sensed that, I wasn't hip to what was going on. I'm not one to really hide my feelings, so I was probably giving her the evil eye or that mom look. It's probably that mom look that I was giving her. And she looked at me and says, have you ever used a pendulum? And I basically said, no, I don't use pendulums for ghost hunts. I said, they're not designed for ghost hunts. And so instead of closing her circle, she just grabbed her pendulum, put it away, grabbed all the crystals, put them all away, and then left the table. So she didn't ground anything around her. She didn't ground herself. She didn't ground the table. She didn't close the portal. So here it is. We're standing in the middle of the night, almost witching hour, and she's opened a portal. She won't close it. She won't listen to me about closing it. And I felt very frustrated. I could feel the energies emitting from that area. And they weren't energies that were supposed to be in that building. They weren't the spirits that lived there that call that building home. And it was very concerning to me. So we continued on our ghost hunt for the rest of the evening. And finally, when it was over, they packed up their things and they went home. And as a precautionary, I was already going to work with the people closing the building, but I made a point of going back up to the third floor where she had opened the portal, and I proceeded to close the portal myself. Luckily, I know how to do it with other objects other than pendulums. I've had training on how to use pendulums, so I know how to use them safely, and I know what to do. So I was able to kind of wrangle everyone who wasn't supposed to be there, push them back through the portal, and close the door. And I think that's very important because I don't want those entities in that building that's open to the public. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're good spirits or harmful spirits. They could be demons. They could be demonic. They could be energies that are never even human. We can't invite those into buildings like that. We just can't. But I was very thankful that I did have the skill set to close that and to kind of help with the energies. Now, there were ramifications of what she did. The next night I went back and I helped lead another group. And this time this group was much more educated on ghost hunting, had more experience, and really embraced ghost hunting in its true sense, how you're supposed to do it. And throughout that evening, we would get signs that there were spirits around. It wasn't a lot, a sound here, a sound there, whatever. Nothing, real shocking, and nothing you'd run in and go, ah, or anything like that. But we did experience some things. And I noticed that when I went into that third floor, the energies were very high and very negative toward me. Those spirits that were in that building remembered me from the night before. Even though I wasn't the one that opened the portal, I had to close it, and they saw me as a threat. And I had to communicate to them that I was not. I was not their threat. I was just there to talk, just to communicate. And I ended up getting bruised. They ended up hurting me. It's not life-threatening or anything, but it's significant enough that it got my attention. So I guess this is a plea for everyone out there who are ghost hunting. Please don't use pendulums. Don't use spirit boards. Don't use Ouija boards. Just don't. If there is a haunt in the building, you can talk to it without those means. There are other ways to talk and communicate. You can use the flashlight trick. There's tons of ways to do it that are safe, that don't create additional energies that are going to stay in the building. If you're going to use a pendulum, if you're going to use an oracle board, if you're going to use an Ouija board, if you're going to use a spirit board, a talking board, an angel board, whatever you call on it today, please learn how to do it properly. Please learn how to open, how to close, how to ground yourself, the area around you, how to be safe. If you do not know that and have never had any formal training to do that, leave your pendulums and Ouija boards at home. You don't need to be bringing them into a public place, opening portals, and having other people having to deal with those energies. Please don't. And in fact, don't do it in your own home. It's crazy. Why would you want to do that? So I'm not saying pendulums and Ouija boards are bad. I'm saying they are tools to use to communicate. There are tools to use to answer questions. And if you do try to use them to reach beyond the veil, you need to know what you're doing. You need to have the experience and you need to have the guidance before you should be doing that. Or it's going to create a lot of chaos and a lot of hurt. And maybe you're not hurt, but it actually could hurt someone else. And I think that would be even a worse fate than hurting yourself. So anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to let you guys know what happened. I wanted to let you guys know what my opinions about that are. And to know that, opening portals in a haunted location is not cool. It's not. Most groups have rules against that for the very reason that most people are not educated and they don't know how to use the tools and equipment that are given to you. So anyway, I hope this helped you. I hope that you spread the word. If you go ghost hunting, if you want to talk to spirits, and you want to use a pendulum, make sure you have the formal training. If you don't, put it away. All right. So I hope that helped you a little bit. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day and that everything in your life is magical. Thanks for joining. Like, share, post, notify, all that good stuff. See you later and have a magical day. Bye-bye.